home. This is the Cabinet meeting for the 9th of March. And may I begin with apologies for absence, please?
Everyone's here other than Councillor Oliver, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. I think he'll be here in a moment or two. Can I just take the minutes now, if we're ready to do that? This is the minutes of the meeting on the 23rd of February. They are before you. And I wonder if Nick Oliver has joined us yet, because probably need to have him here for this one. No? Okay.
He's not joined yet, Chair.
I'm sorry?
He's not joined yet.
No. Okay. Well, look, I think I might just leave the minutes and come back to them if I may. So instead, we'll just park the minutes for the moment, and we'll move on to disclosure of members' interests. Are there any items in the agenda going forward? Yes. Guy Brenner-Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. As a Director of Advanced Northumberland, I have an interest in the last two meetings, so we'll have to withdraw.
Thank you very much. Any other declarations of interest to declare?
Same ones, Glenn. Thank you.
Okay, the same ones. What we'll do, I think, is actually we'll just start. If Nick Oliver hasn't joined us yet, because I need him for the financial report. Oh, you've joined now. Hello there. Good. We'll just go back then to the minutes. We've got the minutes of the meeting that took place at Cabinet on the 23rd of February. They're there before you. Are there any changes, or you want to raise anything? Yes, Nick Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, there's been a little bit of sort of confusion in the media in the last couple of days about the use of COVID reserves and things like that. I just want to clarify. So in that, in the minutes in the previous meeting, there was a reference in that advance funding report to use of unring-fenced grants to support settlement of any claims. I just wanted to clarify that that is not the case. It was never intended to be. That will be funded from general underspends, from revenue underspends within the year. So if we could just agree that amendment, I think that's an important point of clarification.
Okay, thank you. Can we just agree that? Showing of hands, please. I think that's unanimous from what I can see.
Just to be clear for myself and Guy, I don't know, should we be voting on this one?
No, you shouldn't be.
So just please note that I didn't vote on that and didn't partake in any discussion on it other than that. Thank you.
Okay, so that is that's all agreed except for those two members. Yep, good. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. So now we move on to paper A, which is the financial performance 2020 to 21, the position at the end of December 2020. I'll ask Nick Oliver to give us an overview, and then ask that Jan Willis, who is our new interim might wish to comment to us as well. Okay, Nick first.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just do I'll take it as read, and I'll do a quick canter through. This is a quarterly report that we bring to Cabinet, which basically summarises the current financial position and the forecast outturn to the year end. So this is to the end of December 2020. So basically 3/4 of the way through the year. It has been an extraordinary year in every respect. I think obviously we've been operating council services in the midst of an unprecedented COVID pandemic, and it's been very difficult, I think. And I'd just like to put on record our thanks as an administration to all service areas who have actually played their part in delivering those services and actually managing within the budget of the council. And there's been a significant amount of change in operating models and so on in achieving that. In particular, I'd like to thank the finance team who have done a great job in terms of managing the finances and reporting and keeping track of things. And there's been a lot of sort of shifting around as services have changed and underspends and overspends. But this report really just sort of summarises the current sort of position, and generally it's good news. We are managing. I mean, the COVID pressures have been fairly significant. In some areas, there's been massive increase in costs. So, for example, PPE within social care. In other areas, there's been reduced costs. There's also been reduced income in areas. So, for example, car parking income has been massively reduced as tourism and travel restrictions have been implemented. And but we've also benefited. So that's sort of on the downside. On the upside, we've benefited from grant funding from government, significant levels of grant funding. We've also been passporting a very large amount of money into local businesses through central government grants as well. So I'd like to thank the Reverend Ben's team in particular, but also the finance and policy teams who've been involved in that. And it's been a constantly evolving picture, changing from week to week. In terms of sort of key highlights, I think there have been underspends in significant areas of council services. It's worth pointing out Appendix A, where that sets out all of the grants that the council has received. In particular, I think there's £4.5 million in adult services, £4 million in COVID, 60 million in business grants, £5 million for the Northumberland line, and so on. So there's a lot of good news within this report. It is obviously 3 months before the year end, so much can change then. But I think we've had the sort of first sight of the month 10 figures, and that is continuing to be positive. So we will deliver at the end of the year with an underspend on the forecast budget. So in the circumstances, that is a significant achievement. I think I'll probably just sort of pause there and ask Jan if she'd like to come in and make any points, and then we've just got to make a quick sort of amendment before we to the recommendations before we vote, which is related to the previous point in the minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So the only point that I'd make is that clearly we're looking at a quite favourable financial position in year. I think the big concern is about the continuing impact of COVID. So there are a number of recommendations in the report to set aside underspends, for restructuring, for example, to deal with various issues, to enable us to ensure that the council remains sustainable in the longer term. So, we're not out of the woods yet. And I think 21-22 may be a much more challenging financial year. But as Councillor Oliver has said, with some quite substantial government grants, we have weathered the immediate COVID impact quite well. But steady as she goes, I think, is the general message. Thank you, Chair.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Jan. Yes, I mean, reading this, you can see there are significant, well, we call them underspends, but actually, as colleague mentioned before, it's actually money that we haven't spent. So that was placed in our budget at the beginning of the year that we're actually not using. So there are significant underspends across all parts of the council, including, for example, on the corporate expenditure and so on. So many good signs for moving forward. Right. So if there are no questions, yes, Nick Oliver.
Yeah, we just need to. I think just highlight the fact that in the recommendation on the bottom of page 2, that 11.1 million pound reserve is, which is a number of, you see, point I on the whole of page 2 sets out various different reserves. That 11.1 million pound reserve is not an additional reserve to the 8.6 million reserve that's that we've just amended the minute from the previous meeting to highlight, and it's effectively the same thing. It's just a larger number because time has moved on, and that time will probably move on again next month and the month after, and then at the year end as well. So that's just we should note that.
Okay, Julie, is everyone quite clear on that? Yeah, okay, right. Do we need to formally make that amendment, that change noted, or is it? Can we just take the minutes as they are now, Nick?
I'll take advice from Jan on whether we need to. I mean, I think it's probably just worth noting it in the minutes. I don't think it's changing the recommendation. The recommendation remains the same.
Jan?
Yes, Chair, that would be my advice. You don't need to change the recommendation, but just to note that it includes that 8.6 that was previously agreed for advance. So it's not 2 separate reserves, it's only 1.
Yeah, no, that's nice and clear. Good. Okay, so with that, would anyone like to propose those recommendations? Proposed by Nick Oliver, seconded by Richard Dodd. Thank you very much. Are you all in favour? Please show. Thank you very much. Okay. And that's Richard Wearmouth and Guy Renner Thompson not including in that vote. All right, okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Can we now move on to the Public Library Service Consultation? I'm wondering if Jeff Watson would like to briefly introduce this with some thoughts, and then I'll pass over to Nigel Walsh, our Head of Cultural Services.
Thank you very much, Glenn. It's often that on this meeting we say how good our staff have been on preparing something, but I really want to make a point that this report is absolutely excellent work based on a very comprehensive survey. I really congratulate people for doing it. I don't normally do that because people, should be doing a job and that's what they get paid to do, but this is exceptional. It's a really, really good report. A couple of quick points. Just, it's a big document. I hope you've read it, but we've got over 30 libraries, of which quite a few are standalone. We've got integrated ones, we've got community access ones, we've got leisure centre ones, we've got satellite branches, we've got a prison service, a schools library service, a mobile branch. All of those are going to continue. What I want to do next year, and I know that this is shared by both Nigel and Kelly, is look at our hubs, look at how our satellite branches will work well with them. We need to ask ourselves, the growth of digital has been phenomenal over the COVID period and has been phenomenal in our books. Will this continue? Will we be able to manage this? How will we manage it? And also, the other thing that I'm really keen on is mixed use of facilities. I love to see libraries in community centres where we can give extended hours, which we are limited to at the moment simply because of costs. And that I would love to see these hubs get more across the county, giving better access for no extra price to the council, and really help people with this digital world that we're in. So I recommend strongly this report. And I don't know, perhaps Nigel, you'd like to say a few words as well? Take us through it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Watson. I am aware of time, so it is a quite a lengthy report, and also there's significant supporting information in there. So I'd just like to, if it's okay, Chair, just highlight a few points, if I may.
Yes, please.
So in terms of this, it's a very significant report on a number of levels. As a council, in terms of our scale of resource, it involves almost 70 FTEs, so there's a large number of staff involved, significant operating budget of just over £3 million. As Jeff said, it covers many areas of people's lives. We have 30 branches: the school library service, a prison library service, home library, and the mobile library service. It's actually a statutory duty of local authorities under the Public Libraries and Museums Act 1964 to provide a comprehensive and efficient library service for all persons. So that is what we're aiming for. The importance of libraries is increasingly recognised by the DCMS beyond the traditional access to books and resources. So its contribution towards health and wellbeing, stronger communities, economic growth is very much reflected in our local strategy as well. And just to stress that any changes to a service must be based on robust consultation. If the consultation is not seen to be robust, it can actually risk DCLG or Secretary of State intervention. So the purpose of this report, Chair, is to provide an overview of the findings for the public consultation, identify the capacity and accessibility improvements measures introduced during 1920, and outline a three-stage approach to service redesign based on evident need and the findings of the consultation. So the recommendations to members are that they note the completion of the consultation in accordance with the project brief and consider the findings of the study. To agree a three-phase approach to service redesign based on strengthening the core service, establishment of the 5 library hubs, and note the accessibility improvements introduced during 2020, and also to note the progress on the strategic strategy on the development of a strategy for library services. I've gone on to outline a number of key issues, Chair. Just that, again, the DCMS acknowledgement of the outcomes were very much shadowing national strategy, and particularly the Libraries Deliver document. The DCMS outlines 7 key outcomes, which again are absolutely essential to individuals' communities. In Northumberland context, the report identifies that there has been significant structural and leadership changes over the past probably 5 to 6 years, and a 2017 review did actually reflect on these changes and did recommend a more robust consultation to create a sustainable model. And following that, Cabinet in late autumn 2019 agreed the scope of this consultation and also agreed a sum of finance to support service transformation. So the consultation itself, I hope you feel it is robust. It was carried out by SECO, an arm of CIPFA. It took place over 12 weeks, attracted 5,068 responses, included 30 drop-in sessions, in-depth telephone interviews, also very importantly, significant engagement of the staff. I think 47 detailed booklets filled in, and also detailed engagement with stakeholders. Findings are provided in the appendix, and there's also an overview within the background. The barometer we use in the report is our performance against the 4 universal offers of reading, information and digital, health and wellbeing, and culture and creativity. These universal offers are endorsed by Libraries Connected, which is a sector support organisation. I'll very quickly just talk around the results. Unsurprisingly, lending physical copies of books is the most important service. However, it was also particularly important that respondents felt that the libraries offer a space that community can use, local history or study resources, and also, very importantly, computers or internet access were regarded as very important services. It was actually found that 1 in 10 library customers, it's actually their only way of accessing internet or IT, and this actually rises to 46% for those users who are actually out of work and seeking work. Just a couple of other points I'll just flag on that as well. In terms of the value of the library service, 3/4 of the library users of a child under the age of 11 visit the library to spend quality time with their children. And a third, which is a very high number, 34% of respondents visit the library as part of their daily or weekly routine. In terms of how we're performing as a council, in terms of delivering our service, 88% rated the service as excellent or good, with the key strengths identified as the library staff, free access to books and resources, and the opportunity to reserve resources. Particularly strong attributes, which were unprompted, were regarded as a helpful staff, the welcoming environment, being a pleasant place to visit, knowledgeable staff, and ease of access. The report, in terms of high-level areas for improvement, that involved the range of books offered, and actually the physical size of the library and the layout of the library environment, and access through longer opening hours. In terms of taking the service forward, the strategy goes on to identify the improvements that have taken place over the past 12 months, particularly in terms of the digital offer, staffing and resources. As Jeff mentioned, we've actually seen 186% in access to our digital offer since March 2020, and there's actually been a 100% increase in spend on digital resources. So thank you for the support of exec and administration in providing that. We've seen numerous service improvement, innovation activity, including co-location with the visitor information service, and also the introduction of a new library management system and library catalogue. A major part of this report is recommending the establishment of library hubs. Quite simply, as a service, we cannot provide the full range of services that people identify as priorities across 30 sites, particularly in terms of staffing, open hours, etc., and access to specialist staff. So the vision is 5 hub libraries, which would then curate access to those 4 universal offers in each locality for a mixture of walk-in, home, library, doorstep, with a very strong digital core. And the proposal is that those 5 hub libraries would be Berwick, Morpeth, Cramlington, Blythe and Hexham. And the rationale for the selection of those hub libraries is outlined in the report, Chair. Part C of redesign was extending reach and partnership. This is essentially to truly strive to forge local partnerships that truly serve local need. This will be increasingly working in collaboration with communities together and also exploring meaningful community partnerships. We then go on to comment on the strategy. We've talked about the what in terms of what we're actually going to do in terms of service delivery, and the strategy will actually build on that to actually say how we're going to carry out those improvements. Just like to finish, Chair, by saying personally, absolutely incredibly proud of the service, the staff right across the service managers, supervisors, the drivers, library assistants, the back office staff, school library service, and how they've responded to COVID. They've been absolutely courageous and they're making a real difference to people every day. And also, I'd like to thank members and exec for the support and champion the service at every level. So thank you, Chair. Very welcome to take any questions.
Nigel, that's great. Thank you very much indeed. Well, before we go into questions, I want to underline what you've just said about the staff that work within the service, across the service, who are very valuable staff and do a great job. And I'm also very grateful that we have taken the library service as being a very important key part of what we deliver in the county. We've shown here that we are genuinely wanting and have done and have listened to all the communities that are involved and taken their views seriously. The library service has been and will continue to be a really crucial and important part of everyday lives in the county. So thank you very much again for all the work you've done, Nigel, and to all the staff, and indeed to all the members of the public who took the time to respond to the consultation. So
thank you, Chair.
Wendy Patterson, and then Richard Dodd.
Thank you, Chair. Before I ask my question, I would just like to thank Nigel very, very much for this very extensive consultation report, which I think is fantastic. It's been, it was a joy to read it, actually. I think for anyone who loves reading, libraries are fantastically important to us. And I can remember when my children were small, the weekly trip to the library to get a book or many books was just, something they all looked forward to. So to me, reading and libraries are just fantastic. My question I would like to ask is, when would Anik Library be opening? It's quite important to my rural areas and coastal villages, and it's just a nice community venue.
No, thank you, Wendy. Thank you for those comments. Yes, it's disappointing, unfortunately. Obviously the issue that occurred with Anik Library not so shortly after it actually opened, and it was been incredibly well received. I will get an update for you. We're working very closely with Property Services on that. We have tried to compensate, Wendy, on this one. We've opened up click and collect from Amble because we were aware that a lot of the Anik residents were actually having to travel to either Morpeth or Berwick, so we tried to mitigate as much as possible, but I will get you an update from Property Service and when we can expect to see that opening, obviously in line with COVID regulations. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you very much, Nigel. Thank you.
Okay, so Richard Dodd.
Yeah, some of us that's been on council a long time will know that the libraries and the library service has been a battleground over many, many decades, where it's been kicked and punched and really beaten up. And I'm really proud that we've got a positive story that had good consultation. It's stability in the library service, and I just hope those poison pen, the poison pens or the poisonous keyboard warriors start to write something positive rather than trying to take a negative. Thank you, Chair.
Well said. It would be very nice, and I completely underline, it's nice to have positivity and not negativity, and I think what we've done with this bit of work is absolutely first class. Guy Renner-Thompson.
Vice Chairman, thank you, Nigel. You'll have seen a lot of the comments from the parish councils in my area about keeping the sort of informal service you have at the Sea Houses hub going. There's a few computers there, and when books are sort of past their prime in the main libraries, they'll do a deal and put some into the Sea Houses hub. Will that still be continuing?
Absolutely, Guy. I just want to reiterate, there's absolutely no intention of pulling library services out of any locality. It may be that we do that slightly differently, but any changes will be to actually improve the level of service. And those types of arrangements we've got, such as Sea Houses, they're a good blueprint for how that can work through. And we can expect to see more of that type of relationship going forward. But certainly I'll give you assurance on that one, Guy.
That's great.
Good, thank you. Jeff Watson.
Just very quickly then, we spent a lot of time. This is really good. I just wanted to say I've been very impressed with the people I've met in the library service, the enthusiasm they've got, the feeling that they've now got of a bit of stability, because they had felt in the past they were very insecure. They had never had any assurances about continuation of support. And I think with Karen in charge and Nigel there as well, we've managed to instill a lot of confidence throughout our staff, which actually gives you much better results all around. And I'm really pleased with the way things are going. Thank you very much.
Good, well said. Thank you. So Nigel, anything to round up on before we take the recommendations?
No, I don't, Chair. Just to emphasise that they were considered by Communities in Place. This report was considered by Communities in Place overview and scrutiny last Wednesday as well, so it has received scrutiny.
Councillor Reid,
thank you.
Councillor Reid's on the call, Chair, if you want to ask him to present his report.
You just took the words out of my mouth, Karen. I was going to invite the excellent Jeff Reid, Councillor Jeff Reid, to show his face and tell us what your committee thought about this. Jeff, are you there?
I am, Leader. I'm not certain I can show you my face though, because the reason I'm late is because I hate Teams. But anyway, I think all we can say about the report echoes what you've all said. We all thought it was excellently written, well presented. The people who are presenting it and the people who have worked on it know exactly what they're doing, and we're more than happy to support the recommendations as written, Chair. It was really, they were really good on the day as well. Got excellent officers there. Yeah,
thank you very much, Councillor Reid. That's very helpful. Okay, so we'll go to the recommendations then. They're printed there in front of you. Could I have a proposer, which is Jeff Watson, and seconder for the proposal? John Riddle, I think, was it? Yes. Seconded by John Riddle. And all in favour, please show. That's very much unanimous. Nigel, I have to say to you again, thank you very much indeed for all the work you've done on this, which clearly underlines and accentuates the importance of public libraries for us in this county. And it's so nice, actually, to have positivity. It really is. It's great. So thank you very much indeed again, Nigel, and to everybody that works within the service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we now move on to paper C? Which is the Northumberland Sports Facility Strategy and the Playing Pitch Strategy. Would Jeff Watson like to do a brief introduction, and I can bring in perhaps Kelly Angus? Jeff.
Thank you very much. Another big report and a well-written report. I will let Kelly go through this. I really got nothing to add to it. I just think it's absolutely spot on. I could make a small comment about a typing error that the cabinet member, as I'm not the portfolio holder for H. I don't know what the H is. I'm actually the portfolio holder for Healthy Lives. So that's the only comment I would make, which is really superfluous. Thank you very much. Pass you over to Kelly. Okay, Kelly, good morning.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, Councillor Watson, and we'll certainly ensure that that's amended, so many apologies. This is an extensive report, and actually Nigel Walsh has led on this work, so if you don't mind, Chair, I would invite Nigel to provide a brief summary again. Two very extensive reports, but both of them, I think, are very valid. So, Nigel?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Kelly. Again, I'll try to canter through these. They are significant documents. This covering report is confirming to members the completion of both the Sports Facility Strategy 2019 to 2031 and the Playing Pitch Strategy, or PPS, 2019 to 2031. Must stress to members that both strategies are actually adopted evidence. They're not a statutory planning instrument in themselves, i.e. part of our development plan. However, the council, if approved today, will adopt the documents for our own purposes, and it will constitute evidence for other uses such as planning. So the recommendations we have there are that members note the completion of the indoor facilities strategy and Playing Pitch strategy in accordance with the agreed study brief. They note the vision and aims of the strategies, note the priority investment needs identified from the research, agree the principles for future provision of both indoor and outdoor sports facilities, note the recommendations and action plan underpinning delivery of the strategies, and agree that the strategies provide an evidence base to support the implementation of the Northumberland local plan and other development documents as a material consideration for determination of relevant plan applications and provide evidence base for use by other council services. I'll briefly just again identify a number of key issues. Basically, we begin by underlining the rationale for why we as a council invest in sport and recreation. Very much the very visible and apparent positive direct effects of physical activity. Also increasingly recognise the contribution to communities in terms of building cohesion and also community identity. The National Planning Policy Framework, NPPF, sets out the requirements of local authorities to establish and provide adequate and proper leisure facilities to meet local needs. The key extract is that assessment should identify specific needs and quantitative or qualitative deficits or surplus of open space, sports and recreation facilities. Basically, these studies and the associated reports provide the rationale for why we provide what we do and where we do. Okay, so I'll move on to the Indoor Facilities Strategy, or IFS. The key elements addressed by the Indoor Sports Facilities Strategy include quantity, quality, accessibility and availability. In terms of scope, the sports covered are indoor sports halls, swimming, health and fitness, squash and bowls, indoor bowls, and tennis and athletics. We'll absolutely emphasise to members that the structure follows a nationally presented format, which is endorsed and consistent through Sport England, and they have been very close to it throughout the process. There is a vision which captures the council's aspirations for the future delivery of indoor sports and leisure to facilitate the development of sustainable, high quality, well located, accessible sports and leisure facilities and opportunities in partnership to encourage increased participation in sport and physical activity and contribute to improved community health and wellbeing outcomes across the across the county. It then goes on to describe aims and principles for future provision. Also, priority investment needs are identified. Table 4.4 in terms of the quality audit. Again, Chair, I feel it's very positive news as we're working through those. We're working through how we address the priority investment needs. You can see that there's very strong support strategically for the investment into Blythe, Morpeth, Berwick and Ponteland. Again, I feel it's positive for a county size geographically of ours, as in the most sparsely populated county. The summary in terms of swimming pools is, in terms of strategic swimming pools, that's a 25-metre length pool with 4 lanes or more. It is clear that existing swimming facilities which are community accessible have catchment areas which cover most of the county. They are well located. So that's very positive endorsement of in terms of our capital programming. And sports halls, again, we refer to strategic sports halls as 3+ badminton courts. Page 97 of the report states the majority of residents in Northumberland have access to a strategic size sports hall which offers pay and play access within 20-minute drive time. So again, just the caveat is there is some exceptions to the very west of the north and the very west of the west, but that is unsurprising to be expected in a county as rural as Northumberland. But the principles for future provision do reflect that rurality. Just lastly, I'll pick up on the playing pitch strategy, the PPS. This is a second strategic document that works inextricably with the indoor facilities strategy. Again, this is analysis of supply and demand for playing pitches, both grass and artificial or 3G, 4G pitches across the county. It's been carried out through a detailed needs assessment, again with a methodology specified by Sport England. They've been very close to the process, have in fact sat on the steering group along with the national governing bodies of sport, who have been very keen. I'd like to endorse their thanks as well in developing a strategy. The sport specifically included a football, rugby union, cricket, hockey, tennis, bowls and athletics. And where possible, we include all forms of play. As mentioned, it's been overseen by a steering group representation from all the governing bodies and Sport England, who have reviewed and verified the data. The steering group will continue to ensure it is up to date. As you can see, they're both long-term strategies, 10-year strategies. So we will ensure that the content of these documents remains relevant. There's a set of recommendations in 5.2, which gives general investment recommendations and also per individual sports. So I'm not intending to say anything more about that, Chair, and I can say that they are technical documents, but I will try to answer any questions that members may have.
Thank you very much. I think, if I may, I'll bring in Councillor Jeff Reid again, who is Chairman of the Communities and Place Scrutiny Committee, whose committee has looked at this as well. Jeff, did you have any comments on this paper, please?
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I think we were fairly satisfied that the documents have been produced and they were out in the usual high standard. And we did take Nigel's reassurance that they were living documents, so the whole thing wasn't set in stone. But we did realise we have to have these documents to help us, you know, in the planning process. So the only slight niggle I had was there's no reference to COVID or how life might change, or how, you know, the COVID restrictions or the way we live from now on will affect these two documents, which are about actually people gathering together. But other than that, you know, they are what they are, Leader. And we were happy to support the recommendation.
Thank you very much indeed. Any questions, comments from Cabinet colleagues? Richard Dodd, you've got your hand up.
Yes, it's an old hand, but it's still the same pattern. This is still excellent news. I think these facilities are going to be required as we break out of lockdown. I can't wait to get in the pool at Ponteland, but I think it's positive. Again, positivity is the message today from me. So let's crack on with it. Excellent.
Good, thank you. Actually, Nigel, I'm going to be a real pain and tell you that on page On page 36, at the bottom, there is a spelling mistake. There's an L missing from Allendale. And apart from that, I have been through this fairly carefully. I couldn't find anything else other than a very good study. It's good to see representation and acknowledgement taken of increasing use by women and also juniors in the way we're thinking. So that's all very positive, as Councillor Dodd has said. So thank you very much, Nigel, for a very complete and very excellent piece of work. And thank you very much, Councillor Reid, for your comments from scrutiny. And so therefore, if there are no other questions, can I take you to the recommendations, which are at the beginning? Could I have a proposer for those recommendations? Proposed by Jeff Watson, seconded by Veronica Jones. Thank you very much. Are you all in favour? Please show, please. Yes, that looks unanimous. Super. And thank you again, Nigel.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Really good bit of work. Really, really good. Okay, so now we move on to number D, which is always always got some really good stuff in it, which is the new capital proposals. Today we're going to have Neil, but we're also going to have a very short summary about 2.2 and 2.3 from Matt Baker. But first of all, can I pass over to you, Neil?
Hi, Chair. It's actually Mike Turner here. I'm happy to summarise the report in Neil's absence. He's not available today.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first or the only new project recommendation is to approve the proposal to erect a new vehicle storage and office and welfare facility on the Bill Depot site at a cost of $540,000. So the vehicle storage unit will enable us to garage all the winter service vehicles and carry out running repairs through the inclement weather. Obviously, at the moment, they're having to do all that work outside. And then there'll be an opportunity to replace the office and welfare facilities, which staff are using very poor porter cabin accommodation at the moment. And we'll also take the opportunity to sort out the drainage on the site and replace some of the hard standing areas. So as I say, the recommendation is to approve this $540,000 spend.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments or questions on this? John Riddle, you're a local member there.
Yes, I've actually visited that site a couple of years ago, actually, and it was the facilities they had then in the way of welfare facilities were not the best then, put it that way, and I'm sure they've only deteriorated since. So it is quite an exposed site and it's very strategic there. They definitely need to have this investment spent and it can only do a lot of good.
Yeah, good. No, it's good to see investing in our staff welfare and keeping on top of our assets, which is really important. So I think we're all happy with that. Yep. So thank you. So Mike, are you going to do a general introduction to the next two, or am I going to pass to Matt?
I'm happy to do just an overview, and then obviously if there's any detailed questions for Matt or Mark to comment.
Thank you.
So basically there's two grants that we're proposing that we accept. The first one is a grant award of just over £3 million from the Public Sector Decarbonisation Fund for the installation of ground source heat pumps, and subject to receiving that grant, to approve the installation at 6 sites which are listed in paragraph 6.5. So there's 4 schools, and then there's also the Willoburn Leisure Centre and Belford Fire Station. And just to say that obviously the proposed school sites are still subject to discussion with the relevant heads and detailed surveys. But those investments in those 6 sites will actually save us 333 tonnes of CO2 per annum.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Matt, good morning.
Morning, Chair. I just thought it might be useful just to share. I've got 3 slides. It will probably take less than a minute, so I'll just share those really quickly.
Take your time. This is really important, Matt. So just don't feel you're rushing. Take your time.
Okay, I've only got 3 slides, so I could talk forever if you want me to, Glenn, but I won't. I promise. So just to kind of summarise the overall impact. So just to kind of build on what Mike said. So if you take these 2 schemes together, there's 3 things that are really important to us, as we know. There's the saving for carbon, which is 530 tonnes when you combine the 2 things together, and there's a £6 million inward investment. And then there's, we think, sort of more than 60 jobs that this will support in the green economy. I think it's worth stressing that on the LAD scheme specifically, this also targets a really important demographic of people who could be subject to fuel poverty, because we're targeting households with an income of less than 30,000. And that's not just our housing stock, that's also private residents who can apply for this. And subject to approval of this scheme by Cabinet, will quickly go out to residents and publish the details of the scheme that they can apply to. I think the other thing that's worth mentioning is that this also represents a net saving for the council in terms of costs. So effectively, this grant means that we will make some savings out of the capital fund that was previously allocated, both to the kind of uplift of the existing estate, but also the uplift within our local authority homes. So it represents a financial saving as well, which I hope is welcome. That's the kind of the very positive side of things. What I wanted to do very quickly, if I could, was to set this into the context of the wider climate change plan. So if you think about those 3 things, the 530 tonnes, the £6 million and the 60+ jobs, this is a really excellent thing. If we think that is basically this tree, which you can see here, this is the first tree of this many trees that we effectively need to fill in for our climate change action plan. So I think it's kind of really important that as these things come alive, that we kind of keep track and we sort of set ourselves the visibility in a simple way as possible of understanding not only why is it important that we win these grants and we deliver on them, but also how far we're progressing against our ambition for 2030. That's all I wanted to say, Glenn. If there's any questions on the specifics of either scheme, I'm happy to take those, or my colleague Mark is with me as well, and we're happy to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Richard Wearmouth, did you have a question on this?
No, I don't actually. Glenn, we've gone into so much detail on climate change, and we've got so much on the books. I mean, I can only just welcome this and say that I hope there's still more to come. We're the leading council in England, or the second leading council in England, depending on how Friends of the Earth rank us on a particular day. So long may it continue.
Thank you. Nick Oliver, did you want to comment on this?
No, I mean, I'm just supportive, really, very supportive, and it's great work.
Good. Okay. You've got. I get it's potentially a different question there from Nick or Richard, who are very keen on climate change, like all of us are, but you've got away scot-free. So thank you very much indeed, Matt. That was really good, and it is very sobering when you see the one tree in amongst that forest of ones that we have to populate. But I genuinely think we are making good progress, and the motivation is there. What we have to do is make sure that we all become climate change champions, whether we are officers or members. Wendy, question?
Thank you, Chair. I was actually looking at the Green Homes grant. I'm not jumping too far forward here, am I? No. I just think that's such worthwhile, and I do a little newsletter every month for my parish councils, and I just wondered if there was, if I could just pinch some information to put into my report about that. I think that's so important.
Agreed.
Yeah, Glenn, I can. So yeah, absolutely. Wendy will share with you. Anne's team have kindly pulled together a press release for this, which we can provide you with, and you can also sort of steal from that, but link to that, which provides some important information on how to register for the scheme. So we can do that, not just for you if it's okay. We'll do it for all colleagues if that's appropriate, Glenn.
Oh, great! Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's very appropriate. There is a press release going out on this actually, Wendy, any day now, which is complete. So it is really important that we do get the message across, and we presumably will be putting something on our website about this, Matt.
Sorry, I was on mute again. Absolutely, Glenn. We'll be publishing this on the website and in the press releases, as you say.
Good. Okay. Right. Excellent. Are we all happy with those? I'm sure we are. So if I return you to the recommendation, which is we're recommended to agree to 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3. Are you all in favour of that? Oh, sorry, I need a proposer. John Riddle and proposed and Jeffrey Watson seconded. Are you all in favour? Please show. Yeah, lovely. That's unanimous, and thank you all. Thank you, Mike and Matt, for coming to do that this morning. Okay, so that takes us to urgent business. I don't have any urgent business, so therefore it only remains for me now to say that we need to move into. Sorry, Guy Brenner Thompson.
Sorry, Glenn, I just need to apologise. I got my declarations wrong at the start. It's only it's only the minutes that involved Advanced Northumberland, not the substantive report on British Force, so I can stay in for that.
Yes, I did wonder, I must say. It is fairly early in the morning still, isn't it? Okay, so now we move into, can I have a proposal that, sorry, Karen, may I ask if you can stop recording now? Thank everyone for watching, but we now need to move into closed session. Can I have a proposal for moving into closed session, please? Proposed by Richard Wimmer, seconded by Richard Dodd. Can you let me know when the recording has stopped, please?
Yeah, just bear with me, Chair.